Are you ready to confront the lurking fear that shadows us all? The primal dread that claws at the edges of our awareness when the lights are out and we find ourselves alone? Tonight, we plunge headfirst into the abyss of terror. Today, we delve into 3 disturbing true Home Alone horror stories that will send chills down your spine. Let the dark background music carry you into a world where fear reigns and no one can hear your screams.
The crunch of gravel under tires startled me from my book. Living on a dead-end street, any car pulling in was usually there for my family. I peered through the curtains, expecting to see my father's familiar sedan, but the vehicle was unfamiliar. It was a rusty pickup truck I'd never seen before. Unsettling, but not immediately alarming. I returned to my novel, but a gnawing unease began to stir within me. Minutes passed, and the truck still hadn't left. I found myself stealing glances at the window, my focus shattered. The truck remained, parked and silent. Then I heard it. A soft, almost imperceptible thump against the front door. My blood ran cold. I crept closer to the window, my heart pounding in my chest. Peeking from behind the curtains, I saw him. A tall, shadowy figure dressed in dark clothing stood on my doorstep. He was fiddling with something in his hands, and for a terrifying moment, I thought he had a gun. I wanted to scream, to run, but fear froze me in place. He glanced up at the window and I ducked down, my breath catching in my throat. I scrambled back from the window, my mind racing. I was trapped, alone, with a potential intruder just outside my front door. The banging on the door resumed, more insistent this time. Each thud sent a fresh wave of terror through me. Thinking fast, I grabbed my phone and dialed 911, my trembling fingers struggling to input the numbers. As the operator answered, her voice a calming presence in the storm of terror, I whispered my address, my voice choked with fear. The operator assured me help was on the way, but it felt like an eternity. Every creak of the house, every rustle of leaves outside the window amplified my fear. I could hear the intruder still trying the door handle, his frustration growing with each passing moment. Then silence. The banging stopped, and the doorknob rattled one last time before going still. I held my breath, afraid to move, afraid to make a sound. Had he given up? Or was he lurking outside, waiting for the opportune moment to strike? Minutes stretched into an eternity as I huddled in the darkness, my phone clutched in my hand, the operator's voice a lifeline to sanity. Then in the distance, I heard the welcome wail of sirens. Relief washed over me, so potent it nearly brought me to my knees. The police arrived quickly, their presence a beacon of safety in the encroaching darkness. They searched the property, but the intruder was gone, vanished like a phantom into the night. I never forgot that night, the terror I felt etched permanently into my memory. Even though the intruder was never caught, the experience left an indelible mark, a chilling reminder that even in the supposed safety of our homes we are vulnerable.
The phone rang, a shrill interruption to the quiet hum of the television. I glanced at the caller ID, my brow furrowing. The number was unfamiliar, a string of digits with no name attached. I hesitated, my finger hovering over the ignore button. Curiosity piqued, I answered, a cautious hello escaping my lips. Silence. Only the faint crackle of the phone line answered me. Hello? Is anyone there? I repeated, my voice tinged with a hint of annoyance. A click on the other end, then a raspy voice, barely audible above the static, whispered, I see you. My breath hitched. A shiver ran down my spine and a cold dread settled in the pit of my stomach. Who is this? I demanded, my voice trembling slightly. The line went dead. I stared at the phone in my hand, my heart pounding in my chest. It had to be a prank, a cruel joke by some kids. But the voice, the chilling words, sent a wave of unease washing over me. I tried to shake off the feeling, but the words echoed in my mind, I see you. The phone remained silent for the rest of the evening, and I slowly started to relax, attributing the call to a bad joke. However, the next night, the phone rang again. The same unfamiliar number flashed on the screen. I hesitated, my hand hovering over the phone. A part of me wanted to ignore it, but a morbid curiosity compelled me to answer. Hello, I said, my voice tentative. This time, the voice on the other end was clearer, closer, as if the caller were right next to me. You shouldn't have answered, the voice hissed. Panic surged through me. This was no joke. Someone was watching me, toying with me. Who are you? What do you want? I cried, my voice laced with fear. A low chuckle sent chills down my spine. You'll find out soon enough, the voice whispered, the words dripping with malice. The line went dead again. Fear, cold, and suffocating enveloped me. I was alone, trapped in my own home, with a stalker who seemed to know my every move. Every creak of the house, every rustle of leaves outside the window sent my heart racing. Night after night, the calls continued, each one escalating in its intensity. The voice taunted me, threatened me, always seeming to know what I was doing, what I was wearing. The police were no help. They traced the calls to a payphone miles away, a dead end. I was trapped in a nightmare, haunted by a voice I couldn't escape. The calls stopped as abruptly as they started, but the damage was done. I was left with a deep-seated paranoia, a constant fear that I was being watched, followed. The experience transformed me, turning my once carefree spirit into a prisoner of my own home. The phantom caller was never caught, but his presence lingered, a chilling reminder that sometimes the most terrifying monsters are the ones we can't see.
Chapter 3: The Basement Encounter. The old Victorian house stood shrouded in an eerie silence. The air hung heavy with the weight of age and secrets.
Left alone for the weekend, I found myself drawn to the basement door, a forbidding oak slab at the end of the hallway. I'd always avoided the basement, its darkness whispering tales of forgotten things, of shadows that moved in the periphery of my vision. But tonight, curiosity, or perhaps a morbid fascination, spurred me forward.
The musty scent of damp earth and decay greeted him as he descended the creaking wooden stairs. The single bare bulb cast long, grotesque shadows that danced across the exposed brick walls. The air grew colder, sending a shiver down his spine. He felt a prickling sensation on the back of his neck as if he were being watched.
I tried to shake off the feeling, attributing it to my overactive imagination. I continued deeper into the basement, each step echoing in the oppressive silence. As I rounded a corner, I noticed a faint, rhythmic tapping sound coming from the far end of the basement. My heart quickened. I froze, straining my ears, trying to discern the source of the sound. It seemed to be coming from behind a large, dusty sheet that hung from the ceiling, concealing a portion of the basement from view.
Hesitantly, Daniel reached out and pulled the sheet aside, his breath catching in his throat. Before him stood an old, ornately carved wooden rocking chair. It swayed gently back and forth, as if propelled by an unseen hand, the source of the tapping sound. Daniel stared, his blood turning to ice. He could have sworn the chair had been still moments ago.
I took a step back, my mind struggling to comprehend what my eyes were seeing. The air grew heavy, charged with an unseen energy. A cold gust of wind seemed to emanate from the rocking chair, swirling around me, chilling me to the bone. I felt a presence, dark and oppressive, surrounding me, suffocating me.
Then he heard it. A low, guttural growl seemed to rise from the very depths of the basement, echoing around him, vibrating in his very bones. Terror, raw and primal, seized him. He turned and ran, scrambling back towards the stairs, his heart pounding in his chest. He could hear the growl behind him, growing louder, closer. He stumbled up the stairs, his hand frantically searching for the light switch. He fumbled in the darkness, his fingers brushing against something cold and slimy. He recoiled in horror, a scream dying in his throat. He finally found the light switch, bathing the stairwell in a warm, comforting light. He slammed the basement door shut, the sound echoing through the house. He leaned against the door, his chest heaving, his body trembling uncontrollably.
I had never felt so terrified in my life. I never went back into the basement. The memory of the rocking chair, the growl, the unseen presence, forever seared into my mind. The house was sold shortly after, but I never forgot my encounter with the unknown in that dark, terrifying basement.
Thank you for joining me on this chilling exploration of the unknown. Remember, these are not just stories, but glimpses into the darkness that lurks at the edges of our reality. Always stay vigilant when home alone, for you never know what might be lurking just beyond the veil of shadows. If you enjoyed this descent into terror, be sure to like, comment and subscribe for more chilling stories from the abyss. Sweet dreams, if you dare.